Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily, presented by Amazon Prime for March 9th, 2026. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita and Es Baraheni. Coming up, Jayson Tatum is back. We're going to talk about his return. Victor Wembanyama is morphing in front of our eyes, and we're going to hit some of the big games from the weekend. Good morning, everybody. What's up, Zena? What's up, Es? How you guys doing?
Doing well.
First of all, happy International Women's Day.
You stole my joke, stepped right on it. Good job, Es.
For those of you listening, I am putting my hands in a prayer formation to say,
you know what's funny? I purposely didn't
thank
put it
you.
in the notes so that you didn't know it was coming.
I just,
well
the
done,
LeBron
Es.
meme,
I love it.
the LeBron meme was too much.
So
good.
Now that we didn't talk about it before the show. We didn't say anything.
This is
I
so
was
good.
like, oh, this is a
Oh,
perfect
we're locked in
opportunity.
right now.
Yeah,
We
I had
are
no idea it
locked
was coming. So thank
in.
you. That was great.
That's awesome. Speaking of locked
In
in,
all seriousness, though, happy International Women's Day.
really.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I appreciate that, guys. Appreciate you guys having me on, being a part of this conversation.
Of
Got a lot
course,
to talk about.
you're more
let's
than
go
a
ahead and
part.
get into
You're
it.
the squad.
I know,
You're the
seriously.
team.
Half the people
okay.
that watch on YouTube just showing up for Zena. So, speaking of showing up, Jayson Tatum showed up, guys. He came back Friday night. It was
he
awesome. It was great. He went 0 for 5 to start, including getting hung up on the rim on a dunk after a really nice move to get there. And, I found myself, I kind of giggled at it, because I was rooting heavily. Like I was very invested in every single shot he took. And when he hit that sidestep three, I popped for that, guys. I yelled about it. It was awesome. It was great to see. And now, after watching it on Sunday and seeing him play against the Cavs, I'm less excited. I'm more scared for the Eastern Conference, guys.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly what we imagined was going to happen with Tatum back into the lineup, that the Celtics would become even more dangerous. And what's really, I think the most dangerous part is that Tatum has this luxury of not needing to be the guy for them, right? Like Jaylen Brown has been that person all season long. And there is going to be a little bit of a acclimation period as Jayson Tatum gets more aware of his surroundings and how he fits within the fold. But once Jayson Tatum comes back and he's hitting the shots inside, outside, getting inside the paint, folks like Derek White, who have been forced all season long to get put up threes at probably at a clip that he's not used to, and you're seeing it in the fact that he has the lowest three-point shooting percentage that he's had in the last 4 years. You're seeing Jaylen Brown have to do way more than he's typically had to do, and his shooting efficiency has also gone down. All of those guys are now going to benefit from the fact that they're going to be able to slot back into where they were supposed to be in terms of their shooting efficiency, their shooting clip, what they're expected to do, and defenses are going to respond to that as well. And so that's dangerous for me, that this guy that's coming in almost like a mid-season acquisition at the trade deadline, which Joe Mazzulla said is going to be very similar to the situation, they get to benefit.
Yeah, to me, it looks like the Celtics. I mean, it's a slow roll for Tatum to figure out what this new look team is, but it feels like the Celtics have two different identities now that they can go into. Early on against the Cavs, it was, hey, we're going to mismatch hunt. We're going to get Tatum in that mid-post area. He's going to create for us. And he started the game 4 or 5. And you're like, oh, man, this is first-team All-NBA Jayson Tatum. As the game progressed, you see them morphing into the same like Jaylen Brown, Derek White actions where guys are ghosting screens. They're popping out to the 3-point line. They're disguising a lot of actions with, Garza or Keita or whoever to be able to get them to roll to the basket too. So I thought there are two established identities for this Boston Celtics team now moving forward, which makes them, to both of your guys' point, a little bit more terrifying heading into the playoffs because they can adapt. They can see what defenses are reading and throwing at them, and they can switch different things up. I also imagine that once we start to see Tatum ramp up even more, he'll be able to like acquiesce to that first identity and lean into what they're also doing with the ball movement and the off-ball screening and the stuff that they found out this year. So it's just cool because Jayson Tatum is what we thought he might be. He has been as advertised.
That's not true, guys. I just
don't
want to
know.
say
I didn't expect him to
none of us
not
thought
be
he was going to
bad.
just look like, oh, he's been out there all year. I mean,
it's not like he's dropping 35 a night.
Yeah, he still absolutely has to reintegrate.
Yeah, no, the jumper is the only thing that, in my opinion, the only thing that's missing, and that's like, the last thing. But
it's been
everything
short,
else. I did not expect him to look this good. I knew that he wouldn't come back if he was going to look like a bum, but I didn't think he was going to look this good out there. I mean, his defense has been good. I mean, the rebounding. Yeah. I'm on a whole different planet now on the Celtics because I think I'm with you, man. Like, they might be better. They might be a better team than they were last year.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I totally agree with you that they are better than they were last year because Kristaps Porzingis was a non-factor for them last year.
Al Horford is, 45 years old, or
Yes. And then on top of that, like,
yes.
Thank you.
And on top of that, like, Drew Holiday was giving them something, but I think what they've developed with this Ugo Gonzalez, Sam Hauser, Baylor Shireman, Jordan Walsh kind of quartet of wings that they can throw out there is just better depth. They're a deeper team than they were last year. And I think the one knock that you could have on last year's Celtics team is that they didn't have options to go to. They didn't have the depth to be able to plug holes everywhere else. So I think they are better than last year, truthfully.
I'll say this too, non-basketball related, but I think still valid to the story of the Celtics. They did a tremendous job rolling Jayson Tatum coming back out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they did a great job.
That you could see how much he mattered to this team. Like, I was trying to think as I was watching it, the last person to come back that was this high profile of an Achilles tear, probably Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. And it still didn't feel, Kevin Durant didn't come back with the same team. So I think that probably had something to do with it. But the way that he came back, the commercial around it, everything felt like we're ready for this moment. And I think that also is going to help ride this wave into the playoffs of we want him back, as opposed to this tension that people are trying to create between Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown that's unnecessary of whose team this is and what. No, like, this team wants Jayson Tatum to be a part of this. And they're all there is going to be a reintegration process for sure. But for the reasons that you all laid out, their bigs are better. They're more athletic. They've got more depth, and their depth is bigger, which is crazy. So they have more identities that they can throw out defensively and offensively. And now you add Jayson Tatum into the mix. Like, they're like, let's just load up the tool shed. Let's go. So I thought the rollout was really special too.
Yeah, really fun.
By the way, like, even before Tatum, this team was like the second best team in the NBA for the last 2 months. You know,
for sure.
Which is crazy.
They now have the second best betting title odds. I just took a look because I wanted to see, like, am I crazy for feeling like they're so much better? But no, I mean, Tatum looks great. You know who else looks great? There's this guy in San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to watch him at all. He is insane. It's unfair. If you made this guy in a video game, everyone would call you a cheater. The Spurs came back from 25 down on Friday night against the Clippers. You got this guy out there crying after winning a regular season game. You know, I don't know. Look, he's built different, guys.
Mm-hmm. I love caring. Caring is cool.
NBA
players caring is cool. Basketball players caring about their craft is cool. Anybody caring about their craft is cool. And
we're
Victor
Wembanyama,
after
this podcast, guys.
We might cry after this. We did a good job, and we're gonna cry after this podcast.
There you go.
We've put in a long day, if you will. Sure. I 100% agree that Wemby is on a different level, and he's taken his game to another level over the last couple of months too. His averages are basically the same throughout the season. It's like 24 points per game, 11 rebounds, couple of assists. He's leading the league in blocks. Like, that's kind of the baseline for what you have from Victor Wembanyama, on top of him being the best defensive player in the league, a shape-shifting defender on any given night. And to have the emotional awareness, to have the kind of like ability to lead at his age already, I just don't know what to expect from this Spurs team, because they are bucking every expectation. It just doesn't make sense to me anymore that a team as young as they are has legitimate title contention aspirations. They've been the best team in the NBA for like 20 games now. And a lot of that is because of Victor Wembanyama and him being healthy and him caring.
When we saw that Clippers comeback, they were down 25, which was tied for the biggest deficit comeback of the season. Mm-hmm. You see Victor Wembanyama put up 4 threes in that game, end up with 27. And then you flip to the Houston Rockets game on Sunday. And this is the part that answers to your point of S of like, how are they getting to a point where they could be in finals contention, not just playoffs, like finals contention. Wemby scores the first 8 points of this game. And I was watching this in the airport, and people that are kind of just like paying attention and kind of paying attention, they're looking and they're like, oh, wow, he's really, really good. And I guess these are people that don't pay attention to basketball. But what you saw was he scores those points and Houston sends the double team. And as soon as they start sending the double team, everyone else is spotting up, and it is wide open shots on the perimeter for Devin Vassell, for De'Aaron Fox, Julian Champagnie. All these folks get on the perimeter. And this is the problem and the math problem that every team that goes up against the Spurs all season, but particularly while Wemby has been locked in, has had to face. What evil do we want to handle? Do we want to handle the fact that the Spurs can shoot incredibly well when they're in rhythm? Do we want to handle the fact that Wemby is insane at not only finding his own shot, but also as a passer? Like how do we want to attack this? And
the willingness to pass, right?
The willingness to pass as well. And you saw it a little bit with the Clippers, but particularly with Houston. And both of these teams, going from the Pistons to the Clippers to the Rockets, these are all very physical defensive teams who try to knock Wemby off of his balance and off his spots. And there was nothing you could really do, especially considering the rest of the cast was capable of hitting and knocking down those shots when he was getting all the attention. You can't win.
The way he responds now to physicality is different than the first month of the season.
I agree.
Right? I mean, we just don't see him get as beat up. I think his conditioning looks excellent right now. You know, there's been much to do about can he play 40 minutes in the playoffs? I think so. They're not going to be playing back-to-backs in the playoffs. Physically, the issue for him is just being 7'6" and the disaster of bodies falling on the floor, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that we worry about with him. But the morphing comment that I made, like leading into the show, I mean, Zena, I stole that from you. You said we're watching, and that's the thing about him is that physicality. We're catching it on both ends. And you mentioned pick your poison. Do you want these guys shooting warm-up three-point jumpers? They were 52% from three. They had 21 threes against the Rockets. Do you want them doing that? Or are you going to try to guard Wemby one-on-one? This is why, like the Thunder, I think are kind of fascinating if we get this matchup in the playoffs because they've got guys that they've shown that, like Alex Caruso, they trust them to do it. But by the time we get there, what if Wemby's not guardable by those smaller guys anymore? I mean,
this is the thing. It's like he's moving at an exponential rate that just doesn't make sense for what we've seen before. Like I really can't even put a comp to it as far as how quickly he's processing things on the floor and adding it to his game the following game. That's just the absurd part. By the way, we just talked about the Celtics. We just talked about the Spurs. Those two teams play on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Could be a finals preview, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
And we got
you
Jay
saying
King
it out loud was like,
game.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, guys, stick around after the break. We're going to talk about the Pistons and what the heck, 4 straight losses? It seems like there might now be some debate about which team is the best in the East. And especially, look, Jayson Tatum coming back for the Celtics, huge. The Pistons losing 4 in a row, including back-to-back losses to the Brooklyn Nets, who aren't even trying, and the Miami Heat, who plays for them right now, guys?
Guys, play for them.
The Heat are playing good basketball.
But the Pistons
right
are supposed to handle these types of teams, okay?
I agree they're a weird team, Zena. They're a strange basketball team, but they're playing well.
Tyler Hero was hooping on Sunday, and the Pistons had nothing for him. They've now lost 4 in a row. Detroit has. And look, when we talk about this team, the first thing we talk about with them is their defense. And it is kind of fallen off a cliff here the last few games.
Yeah, look, they have cooled down on both ends of the floor. Not to mention, obviously, after that San Antonio game, they don't have Asar Thompson right now, and he is their best wing defender, best turnover machine guy to get them out and running. And I think that's really hurt their bottom line because they can't get out in transition as often. But they foul a lot. They're number 1 in the league in fouls per game. And so when so much of your defensive philosophy is, hey, we are going to beat you up as much as possible, you're going to have these stretches where fouling leads to free throws, leads to guys being in foul trouble. And now you're playing deeper into your rotation. And it's a little bit harder to beat the Miami Heat on a random Sunday night. Like that's the predicament that they come across. I will say that Brooklyn game, no Cade Cunningham.
Sure.
So like we can, I guess, chalk it up to that. But they lost a huge lead, which forced them
into a 23-point lead.
Yeah, it was massive, which is absurd in its own way. But they are going through something right now. They were the number 1 or number 2 defense for most of the season. Over the last month and a half, they've been about 8th. So they have dropped off a little bit. And I think that's just wear and tear from the level of physicality that they play with and the fouling, truthfully.
And then they've had some big games too, right? Like
the Cavs and Spurs
games, these big Cavs games, and I think that maybe there's a little bit of just general fatigue, Zena, right? Like they haven't really been, they've not been a good team very long, and you got to, this is where the Thunder are so impressive because I'm not worried about them losing a game on a random Sunday.
Exactly. And this is why when you're looking at the 2 number 1s in the different conferences, like Detroit's lead in the East now is just 2.5 over Boston. And that was something even last year when you're thinking about what the Thunder were doing, you were never worried about the gap between them and the rest of the West. The fact that is now a factor with Detroit, that Boston could overtake them. That's where you're
San Antonio is coming along.
Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about particularly last year. Right?
No, you're right.
Thunder have had health.
This year, I'm not putting nothing past San Antonio. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
But this is where you're like, any sort of, oh no, Detroit's got it this year. This is what festers a little bit of insecurity about that thought.
100%.
If you want to find out exactly what to do to beat Detroit, watch that Detroit Spurs game. That game was like textbook, use their game against them. The Spurs did such a good job of taking exactly what Es just laid out. This is the number 1 fouling team in the league. Draw fouls. Other teams have not done that well enough. They have not exposed the fact that they are so physical. You can get to a point where the refs cannot deny the fact that you're getting fouled. And the Spurs did that incredibly well. They also got Jalen Duren in foul trouble early. So that compromised everything on the back line. And the Spurs were just able to get into the paint and be able to get what they wanted done. The other thing is, they attacked at more angles. There wasn't a lot of high ball picks that were just at the top of the key. They did a lot of things on the side. And once you lost Asar Thompson, the switchability was it was gone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you need that. And the Spurs the Pistons need that. And so I looked at that game and I was like, oh, Spurs figured it out. Shout out Mitch Johnson. Shout out this team. And I think that's now going to be the game plan. Get Detroit in foul trouble early because Cade Cunningham, there's a string of games that he was getting 4 or 5 fouls, having to sit at the end of games.
He fouled out the Cavs game that they almost lost, that wound up in overtime without Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. That's a real thing. I mean, a very astute observation there.
I will just say, Miami Heat playing good basketball.
They have been playing better. I know. I gotta always just
hooping.
I gotta make fun of them a little bit. The thing about the Pistons, and this is why I'm nervous about these defense first teams. Right? The Boston Celtics have an offensive philosophy that kind of keeps them in a lot of games because of the math. Detroit does not. They don't have that advantage. So they're going to drop games. Right. Yeah. If their defense has a fall off, it is going to be much harder for them to win games.
I'll say this, there is a blueprint to that with what OKC did last year, but OKC also had the MVP. They had SGA. They had an All-NBA.
They got way more guys.
They got way more guys. Offensive capable guys.
100%. I think that's the big difference. If you want to go defense minded, are you going to be able to win with the defensive approach? OKC did it, but they also had probably one of the best scorers in NBA history.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have secondary creation and you're a defensive first team, but you have secondary creation, it balances itself out.
Right. Yeah.
Which is what Detroit does not really have.
They don't exactly. Once you shut off the water for Cade Cunningham, water's just off. The Nuggets, guys, Friday night, they got Aaron Gordon back. Finally, the Nuggets get healthy, and they lose Jamal Murray to an ankle sprain during the game. They got blown out by the Knicks. I just don't know. You know, we've now for a few weeks, we've talked about the Nuggets and how we still believe when it comes playoff time, they're going to be fine. Getting blown out at home by the Knicks like that, that just doesn't make me feel very confident about these guys.
I just feel so bad.
Yeah.
They get their starting lineup back for the first time since November 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasted 8 minutes. I mean, I don't want to make y'all laugh about that, but it is kind of ridiculous.
No, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks.
You know what I mean?
Like, the fact that they've been this good with that stat is actually kind of astonishing.
It's unfortunate for Denver, and they're going to have to find a way to be resilient once again. We still don't really know where Jamal Murray's injury lands.
I will say I did see a report that it's day to day, so it might not be as serious as you know, like a multi-week thing.
Sure,
we'll see. You know.
Okay. Well, they're playing OKC this week.
Yeah.
So we know that is the game. Mm-hmm. That is always the measuring stick between these two teams is how they match up against each other. It feels like Denver, Dave, you said that has their number, like OKC's number, but I don't know. I just feel like you really cannot judge the Nuggets too much in the midst of this stretch of time where they haven't had any sort of consistency. Even though I feel like, yes, a lot of teams haven't had their full starting power or starting five or their full health. The Nuggets, I feel like, feel different. Do they feel different to you all?
I will say this. The Nuggets have the most continuity in the NBA, right?
Okay.
Like more than the Celtics, more than maybe a little bit more than the Knicks, obviously more than the Knicks. You know, the Knicks have been at it for a little bit, but still the Nuggets have more continuity. If there is any team in the NBA that I can trust can figure it out on the fly, it's probably the Denver Nuggets.
They did it last year. Remember, they fired their head coach going into the playoffs. Yeah. It was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
And they were a game away from the NBA Finals. I mean, this is why the Nuggets are they're hard for me to
count out.
Right. I can't count them out. I just don't love what I'm seeing right now. And, you know, I kind of felt this way about them a little bit last year, and then they made some changes, but there are no changes to make. Now it's just they got to get healthy. And then I really think they got to figure out how they're going to defend with Jokic on the court. Like what is that defense going to look like? I think getting Aaron Gordon back, that'll be huge.
And what are they going to do when teams turn up the defensive pressure on them? Because that's what the Knicks did. And the Nuggets lost spacing. They went 2 of 25 from the floor. Like, they did not look good when they got a little bit of pressure on them. And that's concerning. Yeah. Especially when you have somebody like a Jokic that should be able to handle that pressure, and then you all space out around him. That didn't quite happen.
I was honestly going to say that, like, this weekend was a big testament to the Knicks and how good they've been playing basketball recently.
Friday, they looked great. It was everything coming to fruition. It was a team that has been defending much better. Absolutely. Right? We saw their better defense on Friday and the offense that we've been promised from that team. And then on Sunday, it seemed like, I don't know, maybe they had a Saturday night out in LA. Also, the time change. And it was a 12:30 local time tip.
Fake game.
I'll call that a fake game, but they lost 110-97.
Y'all ain't giving the Lakers that game?
I'm giving the Lakers the game. The Lakers also had these same things. They live in LA. The time changed on them too, and they won the game.
You can't call it a fake game for the Lakers. They showed up. They did what they were supposed to do.
You were there.
They did show up.
I was.
You were there.
There were a ton of Knicks fans in the building, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I believe
Knicks,
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, when the Knicks scored, you thought it was Madison Square Garden. It was kind of crazy. But no, they looked so off in that first half. Like, some of the passes were the definition of telegraphed. Like, you turn the page in the dictionary. Here is a Knicks player throwing it directly to a Lakers player and them going in transition the other way. But ultimately, Luka cannot be denied. And Austin Reeves cannot be denied. And I'll say this too. The Lakers turned up their defensive pressure as well.
They played
and it's
well.
impressive that they were able to do all of this without LeBron. And Dave, I know you have some thoughts on that. So I want to open
I've got questions here.
Okay.
For you guys, okay?
Let's go.
Because they're now 9-2 when Luka and Austin Reeves play without LeBron. Is there a LeBron problem for the Lakers? Is there a world in which, and I cannot believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, but they're a question. This is not my opinion. LeBron holding them back a little bit?
I think his $54 million salary slot might be holding them back a little bit from team building and actually building something proper. I mean, like we all agree that the Lakers don't have a chance to win a championship this year. Yeah. They might not even have a chance to win a round this year. And I don't know how much LeBron being available versus not being available changes those chances for me. Now, is that an indictment on 40-year-old LeBron James? No, I don't necessarily think so. It's more about
the redundancy of the role, honestly, with LeBron, because you've got Luka. I mean, it's Luka's team. He is the best player on the team.
Also, I think
you need some other guys.
To your point, Rui Hachimura today, 3 of 8 from 3. He's actually been playing better recently. Luke Kennard actually shot the ball. Shout out to you, Luke Kennard.
Did he?
3 of 7 from 3.
I mean, he kept passing wide open shots.
He always does that, Zena.
I know. He does. Yeah. He's good for that. But yes, continue.
So you're getting opportunity from some other wings that can knock down shots and take threes and not necessarily consume usage, which is what Luka and Austin Reeves need. They need to have the ball in their hands. And to your point, there's some redundancy with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, and you're not seeing LeBron be a defensive stopper, right? And shout out to Marcus Smart because he's starting to look a little bit more like what he looked like when he was with the Celtics, making really smart defensive plays and also leading the energy from the defensive end for the Lakers. But yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question, Dave. I'm very curious what our listeners have to say about that.
I wonder how LeBron feels about this conversation.
I wonder how LeBron feels about shout out to Marcus Smart when he was 1 for 10 from the field.
I said defensive.
That defense is carrying weight there for Zena.
Third in charge.
Defensive. There you go.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for the show, folks. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget, you can leave us a 5-star review anytime you've got a minute because you do it on your phone. Like and subscribe over on YouTube. Hang out with us on Wednesday morning for the shoot around. You guys know the drill. For Es Baraheni and Zena Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for hanging out with us.